Howdy out there, folks. This is Darius Dale here to present our macro minute for Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Starting with markets this morning, we have stocks mixed with global equities lagging, commodities mixed with crude oil lagging, crypto up small, dollar up, global bond yields up big. Market moving headlines. Investors are now reassessing tightening expectations after St. Louis Fed President Jim Bullard said yesterday that hikes of almost 75 basis points should not be ruled out. Markets are currently pricing in basically 50 for the next couple of meetings. But obviously, we're starting to see a little bit of uptick there to the extent the inflation genie gets further out of the bottle. This morning, copper's rising as disruptions in Peru are adding to worries about tight global supplies at a time where inventories are already pretty low. Just in terms of Fed speak for the rest of the week, we have Chicago Fed President Charles Evans to speak today. San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly and Charles Evans again tomorrow. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, ECB President Madame Lagarde at the IMF event on Thursday. Get the preliminary PMIs on Thursday, April PMIs on Thursday night and Friday morning. And then lastly, BOE Governors Andrew Bailey will be speaking on Friday. So a lot of hawkish central bank speak this week. So be prepared for that. Continue to be prepared for that, rather. Japanese yen off a full percent this morning, not giving you what you need as it relates to the Ministry of Finance's verbal intervention. Obviously not working. 10-year German Bund yield up 9 basis points, or roughly 10 percentage points to 0.94%. That's got the DAX down a full percent this morning. Taking it to the charts here, I got dollar still bullish from the perspective of our volatility adjusted momentum signal. It's got 1.6% of downside in its probable range versus only 0.3% upside. So getting close to overbought there. Gold neutral VAMs minus 3.5% of downside in its probable range versus 0.8% of upside there. So getting near overbought there, backing off what we called out yesterday and Friday morning. 10-year nominal Treasury yield, bullish fam still, minus 36 basis points of upside versus only 7 basis points of, or sorry, minus 36 basis points of downside rather, versus only 7 basis points of upside. My apologies there. High yield OAS, bullish fam still, minus 33 basis points of downside versus 17 basis points of upside there. S&P 500, that is neutral VAMs, minus 1.1% of downside versus 5.2% of upside. VIX bearish VAM still, minus 37% of downside versus 6% of upside in its probable range there. NASDAQ 100 neutral VAM still with minus 1% of downside versus 8.9% of upside to the upper boundary of its probable range. Russell 2000 neutral VAMs minus 2.3% of downside versus 6% of upside. Bitcoin still neutral VAMs there, kind of bounced off the lower boundary of its probable range a couple days ago with minus 6% of downside versus 10% of upside in its probable range. Very narrow probable range there. Ethereum, same deal with neutral VAMs, minus 6% of downside versus 11% of upside. Also bounced off the lower boundary of its probable range in recent days. Shanghai Composite, bearish VAM still doesn't look like a chart of a central bank that's about to go on a big monetary easing initiative, as a lot of investors are hoping for to get bailed out of their underperformance here to date. Bearish fam still minus 3.8% of downside versus 2.7% of upside. WTI crude oil, that is neutral VAMs, minus 14 or minus 15% of downside versus 6% of upside in its probable range. And then lastly, agriculture, neutral VAM still overbought here with a 6.9% of downside in its probable range. Industrial metals, neutral VAMs, minus 4.1% of downside versus 2.8% of upside. So with that, Darius Dale presenting our macro minute for Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Best of luck out there today.